In case you have never seen me before, what is your first impression after you have seen those images of me? And how does this first impression change with the different glasses and looks that I put on? I would be really curious to hear. What is the story of first impressions? It has been scientifically shown that we form a first impression of another person in about a tenth of a second. Well, that's pretty fast. And what we look for is trustworthiness and like-dislike. Alexander Todorov is a professor of neuroscience at Princeton University, and he has written the book Face Value, The Irresistible Influence of First Impressions, which I have just read. He says that our first impressions are based on categories like emotional expression, masculinity versus femininity, perceived age, and facial maturity. But what was really striking and kind of shocking for me is the criteria of typicality. We tend to like faces more that resemble what we regard as typical for our social environment. That means if you're a white Caucasian, or Central European, so to say, and if you have never or rarely met people with totally different physiognomies, let's say from Africa and Asia, and you meet a person from a different ethnicity, your brain signals that you should not like or trust this person. That's quite a research finding to digest, isn't it? People living in big cities who are more exposed to a high diversity of ethnicity have probably a different notion of typicality. First impressions are evolutionary important, but they trick us all the time. They are wrong, and they have they are leading us to such things as racial profiling. Alexander Todorov says that we might even be hardwired to find out the intentions of other people, as already newborns react to faces. But those are tricks of the brain. There is no reason to believe in no scientific evidence that our brain gives us correct judgment of the character of the other person we have just met. And the big risk is that once you have made your judgment from a first impression, you're looking for cues to confirm your first impression. So my task for today is, if you meet a new person somewhere, on the street, in a meeting, at work, at a party, check your first impression. Check whether you would like to trust or not to trust this person, and whether your first impression is rather positive or negative. I'm Holger Nauheimer. This is Comcast.